Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're taking a look at Giratina V-STAR post-rotation with of course the classic Lost Zone engine that Giratina V-STAR has kind of become known for. Now the reason I'm doing a deck profile on a V-STAR Pokemon instead of a new EX Pokemon is because the EXs are pretty lackluster and Giratina is looking to be one of the few V-STARs that can actually survive rotation. Like, it doesn't lose that many cards. It does lose Scoopit, which is a pretty big loss, but we do have ways to compensate for that. So it is one of the few V-Stars that survives rotation. We are still, of course, have most of Scarlet and Violet base set to be revealed, which means we have a lot of things that could change in the context of Pokemon EX. But the Giratina Lost Zone engine that kind of already has itself established, and the game designers have already kind of established here is an archetype. Means I don't think there's going to be too many new cards that could come out that could heavily impact this deck too much. Maybe like a couple more consistency cards to slot into this. Maybe like another like switching or like a supporter card you can play as a one of. You could add to this deck, but as a whole, I don't think there's too much that's going to be changing about this deck, and that's why I'm going to be doing a deck profile for today. Not only that, but Giratina V-STAR is looking to have a very, very nice time into those EX Pokemon. The basic Pokemon. Giratina can, of course, one-shot. The stage 1s are looking like Giratina can one-shot. In the stage 2s, you have, of course, Star Requiem and Lost Impacts, and the Lost Mind combo to deal with. And yeah, let's just head right into the deck profile. Starting off with Comfey, of course, the heart and soul of all Lost Zone engine decks in standard right now, and most likely in the future, because it does have that really powerful flower selecting ability, allowing you to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put one of them into your hand, the other in the Lost Zone, which is, of course, really, really good for adding to your hand, but also putting a card in the Lost Zone, which is important for use of our Mirage Gates, Lost Mine, Star Requiem, all those really, really powerful options that our deck has, and Power Spike combos that we need to have those cards in the Lost Zone for, and Comfey will help us do that. Then we have 3 copies of Cramoramorant, and this is the Cramoramorant we all know and love with the Lost Provisions ability, stating that if you have 4 or more cards in the Lost Zone, this Cramoramorant attacks for free, no energy cost whatsoever, which is really, really nice because the attack spit innocently, which the attack cost is literally almost always irrelevant. Dealing a 110 damage when not affected by weakness is a really, really solid attack when it costs 0 energy to use. And the reason that we're playing 3 Cramoramorants opposed to the usual like 2 that we're seeing in most Giratina decks right now, most other Lost Zone decks right now, in current standard pre-rotation, is because these new EX Pokemon that are coming out there looking to evolve are going to have a really tough time into Cramoramorant that can easily knock them out on turn 1 of the game. So if your opponent opens, like, say, I have the deck in front of me here. Say they open a Growlithe that they're looking to evolve into Arcanine EX with 280 HP. And they don't get any other basic Pokemon down, you can just go Cramoramant and knock out that Growlithe right there. If that Growlithe was instead an Arcanine V that was looking to evolve into an Arcanine V-Star, you would not be able to do that. However, Cramoramant being able to come in and take those really early and cheap KOs on this Pokemon looking to evolve is going to be really, really nice when in theory the format will be more populated by them. And that's why we're playing 3 Cramoramants, because it's a really, really efficient attacker into these new Pokemon looking to evolve. Now, of course, into like kind of the main aspect of the deck, you could say, is going to be the Giratina V-STAR. We're running a 2-2 line of it, and this is the Giratina V-STAR we all know, and some of us love. I don't know about you, I really like Giratina V-STAR. I think it's a really cool card, and the entire like Lost Zone concept of the whole thing is really cool design. But we have the Giratina V-STAR, of course, with the Lost Impact for Grass Psychic Colorless, dealing a nice, crispy 280 damage. And you put 2 energies attached to your Pokemon into the Lost Zone. And putting energies in the Lost Zone, of course, not a downside. When you want them in the Lost Zone to use the Star Requiem V-STAR power, you can only use once a game, but it is an extremely powerful effect. Grass Psychic, Star Requiem, you can use this attack only if you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Zone. Your opponent's active Pokemon is instantly knocked out. Now, in the context of Pokemon EX, those Stage 2 Pokemon EX have so much HP. They have 330 HP, which usually is pretty tough for your 280 damage to get through. You're going to have to go through, maybe jump through hoops with Spit Innocently to hit them first, and then Lost Impact them, or Lost Mine and then Lost Impact, which is actually a pretty decent combo. Being able to go Lost Impact, hit them for 280, and then Lost Mine, finish them off, and either knock out something else on the bench or set something up to be knocked out again is really good. But Star Requiem can just pop that 330 HP monster and just get it off the board if that is what you need to do. So overall, just extremely powerful Pokemon. Of course, 280 HP, no weakness, which means that as it's looking right now, the EXs could have a relatively difficult time knocking that out because it does have no weakness and because it is 280 HP. Then we have 2 copies of Sableye, which is, of course, the Lost Mine Sableye that I was mentioning, which has the Lost Mine attack for a Psychic Energy. If you have 10 or more cards in the Lost Mine, you get to take 120 damage or 12 damage counters and spread them anywhere you want. You can do 10 on all of them except one. You could do 50 damage to one. You could put 2 on everything. You could knock out. You could put all 120 on one. It's a really versatile card. And once again, with the Pokemon that are looking to evolve, you can pull off a quick, fast, swift Lost Mine on turn 2, which is not impossible. Even though we do lose Scoopin', it's not impossible to do. If our opponent's Pokemon do have 60 HP and they're looking to evolve, you can just knock 2 of them out. But arguably, an easier way to do that is instead of getting 10 in the Lost Zone, getting 7 in the Lost Zone to activate Mirage Gate and then attack with Radiant Greninja, which not only does it have the super powerful Concealed Cards ability, allowing us to discard an energy card from our hand in order to draw 2 cards, which is going to be really nice for consistency, but also the attack Midnight Shuriken, 2 waters, and a colorless. If you discard 2 energy from it, you are allowed to snipe 90 damage onto 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. Now we do play Water Energy in this deck, so we can actually accelerate those Water Energies onto this with the Mirage Gate and attachment for turn to actually use Midnight Shuriken. And in turn 2, Midnight Shuriken puts so much pressure on this Pokemon evolution decks. If they're not playing Manaphy, it puts so much pressure on them to just get out a lot of basics on turn 1, which isn't going to be too hard to do with Level Ball in format, Nest Ball reprint coming out and starting the base set. But Radiant Greninja is taking 2 prizes with the Midnight Shuriken is also pretty decent as well. So Midnight Shuriken and the Concealed cards on the Radiant Greninja, super good. That is our Pokemon lineup. Pretty straightforward, nothing really crazy there. Now going into our supporters, again, really straightforward. The classic for Colress, which I shouldn't have to explain. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put 3 of them into your hand and 2 in the Lost Zone. Obviously, is extremely good for building a large hand, which is what Lost Zone really finds itself doing a lot of the time, is just building a really large hand, as well as committing cards to that Lost Zone, allowing you to activate Lost Mine, Star Reckoning, and of course Mirage Gate faster. Then our supporters, 1 copy of Boss's Orders, and 1 copy of Roxanne, which is pretty normal for Giratina decks, at least currently as well. Then going into actually our Stadium cards, I actually usually do Stadium cards before Energy after the item cards, but I'm doing it now because the Stadium card is really important in the context of the Lost Zone engine. It is going to be the Beach Court Stadium card that says as long as it's in play, the retreat cost of each basic Pokemon in play is colorless less, which is going to make maneuvering your Comfey so much easier. It's essentially 4 copies of an air balloon, except Beast Court. Once you use it for a turn to retreat, you can actually use Lost Vacuum, which you do play a high count of in the list, to Lost Vacuum it away to essentially both get a switching out as well as another 2 cards in the Lost Zone. So in theory, the combo of Beach Court and Lost Vacuum is going to hopefully make up for the loss of Scoopin' the Scoopin' allowing us to aggressively use Comfeys over and over to get cards in the Lost Zone. The Beach Court allowing you to retreat for free and then just vacuum it away. So not only do you get more cards in the Lost Zone, but also your opponent doesn't get access to it as well. Is really good, and that helps us compensate for the loss of Scoopin'. Now going to our item cards, we're playing 4 copies of Fog Crystal, which might be kind of weird because Giratina decks usually don't play Fog Crystal. But Fog Crystal allowing you to search your deck for a basic Psychic Energy or a basic Psychic Pokemon and putting it into your hand is really good now because we do lose some Search and Quick Ball. And we also aren't playing Ultra Balls in our deck. But the main reason that we are going to be playing the Fog Crystal is actually because it can't search a basic energy. And searching basic energy is good when we have a Radiant Greninja. Just search out a Psychic Energy and immediately discard it if we need to get an extra couple cards. So sometimes not only does Fog Crystal search out your Comfeys, but it also can just say draw 2 cards, which is really solid. If you had an item card printed that just said draw 2 cards, it would be absurdly good. It would be insanely good. And that is sometimes what Fog Crystal is once a turn. Fog Crystal says draw 2 cards, which sounds pretty good to me. The other reason we're playing Fog Crystal is because we actually, in this build of Giratina now that we did rotate out Scuba Net, means that having like 3 plus, maybe even 4 Comfeys on our board at once um, actually isn't that bad. Usually in the version pre-rotation right now, we're using Scuba Net, so you actually only need to have access to about 2 Comfeys, at least in the mid to early game. You only really need to have 2 Comfeys because you can keep recycling them with Scuba Nets. But now that we lose Scuba Net, having more copies of Comfey in play is going to be more important to just pivot between all of them. There's this Chain, Comfey, Flower Slackness to get cards in the Lost Zone, and Fog Crystal lets us get those out of the deck. The reason we're playing more Fog Crystals than Battle VIP Pass is because we do, of course, have the ability to actually get energies with the Fog Crystal as well, which is really, really important for just attaching for turn. And it's got a Radiant Greninja. Another cool thing about Fog Crystal guarantee, or hopefully making you more often to hit Psychic Energies when you need them, is that you can actually just manually attach 3 times to Giratina. Super, super possible when the Pokemon on your opponent's side might have to evolve. It's just attaching 3 times manually. You don't have to get to Mirage Gate. You can kind of just go for the Turbo Cram, and once you're at Cram, if you just attach a couple times, you should be set, at least until you can pull off a couple more Colresses to then activate Mirage Gate. Obviously, if you have the resources, you want to get the 7 in the Lost Zone, but sometimes manually attaching Giratina is fine, and Fog Crystal also helps with that, if that's what you might have to go for in a game. And then we have Switch, 4 copies of it, and once again, we do lose Scuba Net, so having this as another option for switching in the deck is going to be really, really nice. And as I mentioned, the 4 Lost Vacuum, which is going to be kind of hopefully a replacement, or try to be a replacement of Scuba Net, because Scuba Net does rotate, allowing us to aggressively get cards in the Lost Zone. We can use a combo of Beach Court Retreat plus Lost Vacuum for an additional potentially 3 cards in the Lost Vacuum or in the Lost Zone, accounting for the flower selecting used and retreated from the Beach Court. Not only that, but Lost Vacuum can Lost Zone opponent's tools as well, and opponent stadiums, which can be useful too. So even if you don't have the Beach Court in place, sometimes Lost Vacuum can still be a +1 to the Lost Zone if you're Lost Zoning an opponent's tool or stadium card as well. Then we have, once again, really, really commonplace Lost Zone card, Mirage Gate. 4 of it, of course, one of the best item cards in the deck, or probably the best item card in the deck. Maybe even the best card in the deck. Mirage Gate, super, super good. You can only play it if you have 7 more cards in the Lost Zone, but of course, searching your deck for 2 different types of basic energy attaching to your Pokemon, so this is obviously going to be used to power up Giratina, and of course, Sticker Ninja if we want to. Then we have a couple more switching out. 2 copies of Switch Cart and 1 copy of Escape Rope, which is going to, once again, help us with our switching out. And this, of course, Lost Zone deck really, really wants almost as much switching as possible. So we're having the 4 switch, the 2 switch card, 1 rope, and then, of course, 4 copies of Beach Court. Then we have some search item cards. And Nest Ball is going to be the first one. Nest Ball is confirmed to be getting a reprint in Scarlet and Violet base set. And for those of you who don't know, Nest Ball is very akin to Quick Ball, but it's a little bit less powerful in the fact that you search for a base Pokemon and put it directly on your bench. There's no going into your hand, it goes directly on the bench, which means that if you have a full bench, Nest Ball actually can't be played, so it isn't burnable. But it is a better option for these Lost Zone decks than Quick Ball, because Lost Zone decks really don't like getting rid of resources that they don't have to. They're already getting rid of tons of resources through the Lost Zone effects like Flower Selecting and Colress. So Lost Zone decks really don't like having to discard that card off Quick Ball, funnily enough. But Nest Ball is a punish-free option for getting base Pokemon to play. And of course, the other punish-free option is going to be Battle VIP Pass, which is still an absurdly cracked card, just not as good, or it's not as needed, I guess I should say. Still a perfectly good card, but it's not as needed now that we have the 4 Fog Crystals and 2 Nest Balls to search our Pokemon. Battle VIP Pass, though, still obviously so insane that we're still going to be playing some of them. And then we have an item card, last item card, 1 copy of Energy Recycler. This is hopefully going to be taking in place of Ordinary Rod. The fact that we are losing Ordinary Rod kind of is why we're playing the 3 Crams and the 2 Sableyes. And we have the fact that we're losing Ordinary Rod as well means we still need to play some form of energy, energy recycling, I guess, yeah. Oh my gosh, excuse me. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So if you want to play a second Energy Recycler as well, that is also an option too. In the deck right now, I'm just trying the 1 out. And then finally we have our Energies 5 Psychic Energy, which is pretty high for Giratina, at least right now. And the reason we're playing 5 is because, once again, Fog Gristle being able to get yourself a nice draw 2 cards. If you don't have the second condition in the deck to search out the Fog Crystal to draw the cards, then you can't draw the cards in the first place, which means that we're just playing the extra copy there in order to help with that. Also, the slot that would usually be Capture Energy. Capture Energy is rotating, so we're just kind of taking the slot that would usually be Capture Energy, kind of popping it into the Psychic slot instead. Then, of course, Grass Energy, which needs to be used on our Giratina. So we're having 4 copies of Grass Energy. And then, finally, 3 copies of Water Energy, which is going to be able to help us use Greninja. That's going to be the post-rotation Giratina list. Like I said, I imagine there's probably not going to be too many huge changes to this deck or cards that will be released in Scarlet and Violet base set that will change this deck too much. But this is still one of the least affected decks by rotation. Like the only like notable card that this deck loses is like Scuba Net. You can make an argument for Ordinary Rod as well. Ordinary Rod I think is more debatable. Scuba Net definitely is a big loss, but I think the deck can still hold its own even without Scuba Net. Lost Zone Engines I don't think will be going anywhere. Lost Mine is an insanely broken attack, so for that reason alone, I don't think Lost Zone decks will be going anywhere in the post-rotation format. And then specifically this one having a pretty decent time into those Pokemon EX looking like, based on the HP they're having, makes this seem like a pretty good option going into the post-rotation format. But that's going to do it for the video, guys. If you guys liked it, don't forget to like. If you guys want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one.